This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another shade of blue. My name is Cody Bradley. I've got Thad Bell, Robert Russert, and tonight we are reuniting the original crew. It is such a beautiful thing. We have Allie Trost of 810 Sports Radio here with us. Allie, oh my gosh, the crew is reunited. This is amazing.
I know, this is so fun. I really was like looking forward to this all day. Once it hit like 4 o'clock, I'm like, okay, we're in the 2-hour window. Let's go. Like, I'm just ready to do it now. So very happy to talk some sporting and soccer with you guys again. This will be fun.
You've been requested by our community as of late, so
more than once. Yes, more than once.
Right.
Love the squad. Love the Blue Testament faithful.
So if you are a new listener, Allie was part of our original crew here. I guess maybe the second original. Thad and Mike used to do this back in the day, but in our current iteration, Allie started this with us. It used to be our foursome back in the old radio station studios. And so yes, it's very good. And she of course went on to bigger and more wonderful things and is doing an awesome job. I'm sure everyone is familiar with your stuff already from Sporting and Chiefs.
Yeah, not just soccer anymore, which has been really fun but challenging too, because as you all know, in Kansas City, it's not just Chiefs, Royals, Sporting. It's also college football, college basketball. You get a little, national stuff in there too with sports and teams that aren't even near Kansas City. So it's a little bit of everything, but it's been really, really fun. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. But soccer, you guys know, football will always be my number one.
Nice. Okay, so let's get into it. Bob, can you get us started here with a conversation topic? Do you have something?
Yeah. I don't know if you checked out my article on thebluetestament.com analyzing the latest loss, the Orlando loss, but a number of reactions, which we thought were kind of compelling. The argument that, we've seen this Khiry film at center forward before where he struggles some. And this one responder said, yeah, he definitely belongs out on the wing. And where's Khiry best fit in your minds? What do you guys think?
This really does bring us back to the old days because I think we had this conversation for like a year long.
We did. You guys know I'm a big Khiry fan, and I will stand him every time we talk, every time the subject gets brought up. But I think what's really interesting is I can't wait to see what Peter does in the attack going forward now during this stretch of 9 games in 30 days, because we saw a little bit of something against Orlando that I think is very intriguing. And Vermes, I asked him a question about this in the press conference the other week about whether or not we'll see it again. And he didn't say no. And that was in the final 30 minutes when Polito subs in as an attacking mid. And then you've got you've got Shelton playing in the number 9 role. You've got Hurtado in the mix, and they had so many weapons offensively. They were getting some good looks, but they just couldn't put anything in the back of the net, although they actually did, but it was called back offsides.
Eventually.
Polito plays a bit more. He doesn't play like a true number 9. He does play a little bit in that, what we called on the final whistle show, in the 9 3/4. It's not the 10, it's not the 9. He plays in that space between and is that great connector between the midfield and the attack. And yeah, we've seen him score goals. He can put the ball in the back of the net. But if a game calls for a situation where you have a Khiry Shelton or even an Eric Hurtado who's better at that hold-up play, brings out more physical presence to the number 9 role, and then you plug Polito in at the 10 or, alongside Gadi Kinda, that gives you options then to play a Johnny and a Jerso out on the wing, because Jerso's been the best option for them on the left, in my opinion, so far. And so I think that that's something we might see more of. Vermes is going to put Polito at the 9. I don't think you're going to start seeing him at the 10 on a consistent basis, but I do think it's an interesting option that they do have. And Khiry has looked better on the wing throughout this season. We've seen him score goals, though, playing center forward. I can't remember what game it was now, but he had that nice run up the middle, and it was a beautiful finish. So he's been a better and more clinical finisher this season, but he has just been a stronger presence out on the wing when he doesn't maybe have to be consumed by all of those duties that he usually has playing the 9, which is to do a little bit more of hold-up play than actually maybe being more on the ball.
So in that scenario that you just described, am I seeing Shelton on the right? Is that what you're saying?
Perhaps. I mean, it could be like, I think there's a lot of ways he could go about it. I think Eric Hurtado, to me, is a player that, in just some quick flashes, brings a lot of great stuff to the field. I mean, he is a threat when he's, on the ball and just kind of barreling through opposing defenses, kind of like in a Diego Rubio type way. So maybe you do have an Eric Hurtado at the 9 who is bringing more of a physical presence, bringing, just a lot of that kind of annoyingness to it, hold up play, being a physical presence. Then you put a Jerso and a Shelton out on the wings, or a Jerso and a Johnny, and then you have Kinda and Polito playing, as the attacking mids. I think that might be one of their best scoring options as far as creating chances and just having a lot of different types of threatening pieces in the mix. But, the problem for this team isn't on offense, it's on defense.
I was just thinking the same thing.
They've got plenty, they have plenty of options. Vermes can, and he has done a lot of rotating up top, and he's also done a lot of rotating on the defensive side of the ball. The difference is it's paid off for them on one side of the field and maybe not so much on the other. So I don't think that the question or the issue really is like, oh, where's Shelton going to be better? Vermes is going to put him where he's going to be best, especially down the stretch. I think it was more out of necessity that they had him in at the 9 because of Polito coming back from an injury. That's not going to be where you're going to see him for the rest of the season. But, they can still score goals and win games with Shelton in at the 9, maybe not win. Well, they scored enough goals to maybe get a win in those last couple of games. But yeah, I just think they have plenty of options up top to rotate offensively, and Polito coming back gives him an option, I think, both at midfield and in the attack.
Well, speaking of all those options, I was waiting. You're mentioning all these wingers. I was waiting for you to mention little brother, and I didn't hear it.
Guys, he's got it's not a soccer issue for him, because here's the thing. Daniel Shalhoub's a great soccer player. He's very talented. It's all up here.
Right.
That's what's got to be fixed. And those kind of things, it's hard because, on one hand, if he's not performing, you're not going to put him in the game. But the only way to kind of overcome some of those deficiencies that you're seeing, or, just shortcomings that you're seeing on the field, you need to have the minutes to get past it. And so it's kind of this weird, in between that the club's in, because we've seen him be at his absolute best when, in 2018, he was, led the team in scoring.
And what a terrible season for him to try to come back, or to try to find himself again when the season is cut short and there's a break in the middle of it, and then he gets it himself and has to sit out. It's just not looking good at the moment.
Definitely a developmental setback for him, which is interesting because it's been a huge, season developmentally for some of the other young players. So, Vermes says this all the time, you don't get minutes unless you deserve them. And I think you're seeing that with the young players getting minutes, and players like Daniel, who's technically one of their younger homegrown guys, not getting minutes because he's maybe not contributing as much on the field or in practice. They just don't like what they're seeing.
Yeah, so we briefly got on defenders there for a second. We were talking, the other night we did a podcast with Jacob Peterson. If you haven't caught that, go back and check that one. And that was what I was asking him about, just trying to figure out, Vermes and the whole staff are trying anything and everything, every combination imaginable. Do you even have a preferred center back pairing?
Yeah, Yes and no, because like we've seen so many different pairings at center back so far, and while there have been great moments from different, whether that was Matt Beasler and Puncic, or Puncic and Graham Smith, or Winston Reed, like, we've seen all of them have great moments. But
Well, right,
great
yeah,
moment,
that's
but
actually
great,
the interesting part is that's like two different questions. It's not who are the two best center backs. It's like we have
the
to
most
try to
consistent.
find what works so well for all these years was Beasler and Ike working so well together, and just the cohesiveness on the back line, and that's what they have yet to find. Like you said, there's been good performances, individual performances all over, and reason to think at least that all of them are worthy in this league and can be effective for the team. It's just putting it together and finding the right duo that works.
Yeah, we had a caller in the post-game show just go off saying that this is a talent issue. The defense is just so bad. These players, Matt Beasler needs to hang them up. I don't think it's a talent issue. It's a continuity issue. If you look at the goals that Orlando scored specifically, there were some really bad moments of communication there. You can outperform maybe what your actual talent level is, or even, where you're at physically in your career, by having great communication, having continuity, and that's been totally missing for this team. I think it was the first goal that Orlando scored, or I can't remember which one it was, but Matt Beasler stepped.
Mm-hmm.
He had the guy behind him on his shoulder. Puncic was facing the direction that would have allowed him to signal Beasler and let him know that he had a player on his shoulder. He didn't. Beasler steps. Puncic is covering another runner, and then it leaves a wide open space to play the ball over, and then boom, you've got pretty much just a non-contested scoring opportunity for Orlando. So I think with this Sporting defense, it's not a matter of, do they need to find a new piece to plug in at center back? Is this not going to be achieved with anyone that they currently have? I think that they have the pieces. It's just they haven't been able to achieve the consistency that will allow them to be better in some of those routine moments that we've seen so far this season, as Peter Vermes called it.
Right.
So,
okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and hopefully when we come back, Thad will stop watching Sporting KC 2 and contribute something.
I tried. I could get a word in edgewise, man.
Okay, yeah, we'll be right back.
When it's a football night, when it's a football night, we can gather all our friends all around the Zoom. That's not a better thing to do. When it's a football night, when it's a football night, when the final whistle blows, we're gonna celebrate tonight. When the final whistle blows, we're gonna celebrate tonight. When the final whistle blows, we're gonna feel alright.
All right. That feels good. That feels good to have the whole gang back and do that again. So, Allie touched on this earlier. We've got 9 games over 30 days coming up here. And Mike Kuhn in our Slack group, actually, I think he did it on Twitter too. Are you guys ready for Graham Zusi to play all 9 of these games in a row here? Which, wouldn't surprise me, but you have to, even by Vermes' standards, you have to expect to see some squad rotation going into this.
Cross your fingers and hope.
Yeah.
Have we seen a Lindsay on the right, Dia on the left combo this year yet?
No. Well, I think not to start. I think maybe it happened mid-game once. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep track. I have no idea.
Is.
I'm just going to assume we've seen everything.
I know. That's what I was about to say. I'm assuming
Unless
it
the player's
happened.
playing out of position, we've seen it all.
I mean, going back to what we were talking about earlier.
Let's get see 2.
All right.
9 games.
2 on the board. Thank you for your participation.
Earlier. Sorry. COVID, 9 games in 30 days, 4 teams only won't make the playoffs in our conference. Why not just experiment and try to find those combos and plan for next year? I mean, why not?
This year has an asterisk next to it anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just experiment.
Do you know, Peter? He doesn't just.
Yes, I do.
He
I'm not
doesn't
talking as
just
Peter.
experiment. He wants to win every single game.
Well, I do
good.
too.
So
But
we had a really good conversation with Peter, and we touched on this on the Sporting KC show this week, and he kind of brought up the point of, now that they are entering this stretch, you're seeing teams that haven't rotated their roster as much up to this point start to suffer injuries and different things that I think they've been trying to avoid, whether that is out of, necessity with players being out and trying to rotate and whatnot. But, I'm in the camp of, I think all of the rotation we have seen to this point is only going to help them down the stretch. Graham Zusi might be the only player we have not seen given any time on the bench, which is a credit to Graham Zusi, because he's still, outside of that one really, really, really bad giveaway, has looked up to the challenge each week. But Amadou Dia, to me, might be one of the most surprising in the best way players of this season to me, because I was pretty high on Luis Martins. At the end of last season, I thought he brought some really good stuff into this year, but that man needs to go try out to be a kicker in the NFL, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, every single shot he's taken has gone just miles over the goal. And I don't know if that is actually the case. It's just happened enough times for me to formulate that opinion.
Right.
And I think what you get with Dia, we've seen a lot of really high quality opportunities when he's on the left side of the field, and whether that's him combining for a give and go, drawing the corner, drawing a free kick, getting a good cross himself off. He hasn't really taken many shots, but he's created a lot of opportunity that, when there's all that talk on what's going on with the left side of the field, why can't they get anything going there? I think the answer is Amadou Dia, because he seemed to create a lot of good stuff over there. Plus you throw in Jerso Fernandez, who has just been, again, outside of just completely bombing that one wide open in front of the net shot over the top. And to me, the answer on the left is Amadou Dia and Jerso Fernandez. And I don't think that it's going to get any better than that with what we've seen so far.
Well, we can't talk about Jerso without mentioning, everything you're saying is right. I agree with it 100% until the last touch of the ball that he makes. That's where you lose me on
it's
that.
Gotten better. It's gotten better.
I agree. It seems like it's gotten closer.
A lot better.
Yeah.
I think he's been honestly if we're going to hand up the most improved player award this season, or a player who has been able to just kind of make those incremental changes in an area that was kind of their Achilles heel in the past, it's Jerso Fernandez, 100%. He's had the number of times he has kind of done what Johnny was doing in 2018, where just burns past, because he would almost never get to that point where he could take it to the goal line and then send a really good cross over. He'd lose it somewhere before he got to that point. And now he's getting there, and he's creating a lot of good opportunities, and he's even getting some chances in front of the goal too. So he's been a difference maker this season for sure.
Yeah, he is creating more chances. That is for sure. He's got that one final touch has come along, I think.
And his real strength has been his real strength has been getting to the end line and trying to play it back into the box. But going back to the Dia and Martins thing for a second, Martins, one of his supposed strengths and what he's supposed to be doing good at is doing the cross into the box, but we don't always have somebody in there that's got the height to put it away. Where I think Dia is actually better at driving to the end line also. So he's almost like another Jerso, but a better defender, more of a defender.
Yes.
So they can overlap. That's where I kind of like that pairing a little bit, was if Dia goes through, he can go to the end line. Jerso can come back out and play, and he has the speed in case anybody loses it. So I think they're almost the same player, just one's more defensive, one's more attacking, obviously.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And if we can get maybe Reed, Polito, and the big body of Shelton in the box, that could be a weapon as well.
Yeah, those are that used to be the thing, that nobody was big on this team seemingly, or only one person, and now there's some bigger dudes there. Polito can do some damage in the box with his head, I think.
But guys, I want to get your thoughts on this, because we talked about, I think we laughed a lot in 2018 and maybe even early 2019 about this team always having way more corner kick opportunities than the team they play against, and have nothing to show for it. They've gotten a little bit more creative with their looks. They're trying some different things. I, for one, am just happy to see something different instead of okay, here goes, it was just basically just kind of okay, let's restart. The ball went out of bounds. It almost felt like a throw-in at times, and less of
why do we even try
dangerous
it?
Opportunity. Yeah, but it's I think they're getting somewhere with that, and so I'm hoping to see something break through here.
That last game, Nate said, was I mistaken? Did he say that Sporting Kansas City lead MLS in set piece goals?
Does that
Like,
surprise you or what?
He
He did.
said that, and I thought of that, how we always used to talk about that. I was like, what world are we? What is 2020?
Well,
That is where
that's probably honestly because of the 2 goals that they scored, I believe, against FC Dallas. And Amadou Dia, guys, he's the
Yeah.
one who set up both of those set pieces. So, again.
And I think they're also counting like second chances.
second
off of
chances.
This, yeah, so
all
it's not
been
just
second chances.
it's not just the corner kick; it's the second chance, the ball being put back in, and I think they've created a couple off of those. So that's probably where that all comes from.
I can't recall a single one of them being on the first chance, though. I think literally all of them have been like just in the ensuing play, which there's nothing wrong with it. At least it's working, but
One of Russell's recent goals.
I don't think that feeling has been entirely gone. That there have been games, maybe just an individual game that was frustrating, but there's still times where they're about to send in a cross, and I'm like, why do we even do it? We just know it's not going to work. Just try to dribble in there and see what happens. Like it just never worked.
Just give them the goal kick, and we'll just steal it back and try again.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
that like might be their
Try to let them play from the
shot at
back,
times.
and Jerso will run it down or something.
Yeah. But again, if they keep doing more of like, not just, and again, like their short corner got a little too obvious because they did it enough times where, it was, that also wasn't really working, but now they're kind of mixing up. They're putting like a little spice on the short corner, and I'm digging it. So
Yeah, it was very, very, very predictable.
The other thing we need to talk about is Busio having played in Ilie's spot while he was gone and doing so well. And now Thad, I'm blaming Thad here. Thad is the one that first asked this question. I didn't even ever think of it or anything like it. It's all Thad's fault. I'm blaming it on him. He asked
blame me
the
for
question,
everything anyway.
Like, so if Roger and Gadi Kinda are both healthy out there in the midfield, who do you start at holding midfield? Ilie or Busio?
I'd say Ilie still,
Good.
personally.
It's my girl, Allie.
I think Busio did a fantastic job, and the progress that he showed from, game 1 to game, 5 or, however many games passed where Ilie was gone and he was primarily playing at the 6. I thought he did a fantastic job. And actually, I thought it was interesting because when he was then moved back to his natural attacking midfielder role, I thought he actually played that role better, having had the defensive experience and training, just understanding and seeing the field from a different spot. So I think, Busio's greatest skill going forward now is going to be his versatility. And I think showcasing him in that role was big just for, his growth and how other teams see him for his development as well. But if you're looking at just this team and who's going to win out in that spot, I'm going to say Ilie, just because of the experience. And I think, I need to go back and watch some of the tape. I know he had kind of a role in one of the goals off of a set piece that happened. It was his first game back.
Yeah, weak clearance.
Yeah, but, it was interesting. We talked about this on the Final Whistle show too, and Chad Reynolds had talked with some of the coaching staff after, and they were like, that was on us. Ilie's first game back, we shouldn't have put him in that position. And they took more of the blame for that breakdown than maybe it was on Ilie. But I think Ilie is just, if we're looking at continuity, it's going to be really big to have Ilie, I think, kind of lead that role the rest of the way. Now they know, though, that they have some really great depth in Busio.
Yeah, in my observations article, I was going to write some about Ilie and Busio, but it was getting too long. So it's like, I'll leave it out. But, from my observations with Busio, I did that article about his, watching him closely for 2 games. I watched Ilie really close. Ilie, I don't think gets in as good a spots as quick as Busio does as far as receiving the ball from the backs. But what I think Ilie does overall is impacts the game in other ways.
He's on the ball.
His tackles are better on the ball. He's just so good on the ball, guys. He just is under pressure. He's just so good on that. And I think he plays more penetrating balls too. So I think overall, Ilie impacts the game in a more positive way. From the
Dad's going to disagree. I can see it on his face.
Yeah, you can, and I have to, just because if nobody else does, I have to argue the other side, right?
Our favorite contrarian.
Right.
Just like last year, Felipe Gutierrez, nobody wanted him to play the 6, but when he played the 6, the team played better. I think Busio is kind of in that same thing. Obviously, Ilie is more experienced. Obviously, Ilie knows the position better. And at some point, he is going to be a fantastic coach explaining how to play that role to other players. But Busio doing it without Ilie there to give any advice. And yeah, we could say it was on the coaches for even playing Ilie that game, but they also didn't have a lot of choice because Busio was out. They didn't have much other choice to play that spot. It would have been, Winston Reed playing that spot or something like that. But I think that Busio, I agree with Ali that Busio looked even better when he moved forward because he has that experience. Because I think Busio kind of has played, because of playing in the academy and always being a level above most of the players he was with, he kind of had a lot more freedom to just do what he wanted and play between lines and not have quite as much responsibility. And that's part of growing up and becoming the experienced player. He has to have those responsibilities. Playing the 6 made him do better at that. So he was perhaps more effective as an 8/10 that Sporting plays. But I still think that right now, if I had all those other guys available, I might start Busio. I'm not saying I would 100% start Busio, but I might start Busio at the 6 spot.
Well, with all the games and the focus, the concentration of him, he's going to see plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, parting question here. I want to hear who you guys are starting at center back this weekend. Thad.
Oh, man.
Allie, you get some time to think. I wanted to mess with that.
Reed and Puncic.
I'm with Thad on that one.
I'm going to say Reed and Puncic as well.
I agree too. I think Puncic really picked up his game that second half. But Beasley's hurt possibly too, maybe. I'm unsure about that.
Yeah, that's what Jake said last night.
Here's what really matters. If you're Tim Melia, what the heck are your thoughts right now? Are you going to the coaching staff and saying, help me out here, guys? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think Tim Melia should have a say in it because, again, like I said earlier, communication can help right some of the wrongs of maybe talent mismatches or, just things that they're going up some really great speedy attacks that, this Houston team is going to be the same thing, even without Albert Elise. They've been exploited by them time and time again, but you can help kind of correct some of that with just good communication. Both of Orlando's goals would have never happened if it had just been for, in Felipe Hernandez's, instance and on goal number 2, had he been defending the first ball better, that cross never gets off. And also, if they don't play the offside trap and communicate a little bit better there in that moment, and Beasler doesn't make that step, even though Puncic and Dia are keeping, the line intact for, Orlando to be on sides. It's just, those were just communication breakdowns. A couple of, directions from someone who can see the field a bit better. Neither of those goals happen. And so I think just communication is going to be big. And if the best consistency that you can find and the best communication is with Puncic and Reed, which it looks like it might be, then hopefully that's who you're going to start seeing going forward. But again, we've also seen Beasler, when he was healthy, come in and, clean up a mess that Graham Smith left on the field. So it's just, we've seen Graham Smith look really good, and we've seen Puncic look really good, and we've seen all these combinations look good at times together. I truly don't know the answer as to which one's going to be the most consistent down the stretch and through the rest of the season into the playoffs. I don't know.
Well, the rest of SKC Nation agree with us on there. Looking at our lineup poll, those are the 2 center backs that everybody is rolling with here. And
recency bias.
Yeah.
And that is the problem, is like every time a pair does a really good game, the next game that pair doesn't work as well together. That consistency.
Puncic
only came in for the second half, right? It was just like, all right, he had a decent second half. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, but
he started
also it's not all on just the center backs or on the back line. The plays a role in this as well. And Ilie was quick to point that out in the post game presser after the Orlando game. He did say the breakdown and the first ball that kind of created the second goal for Orlando, that was on the midfield to keep that that play from happening. Granted, it's also on Matt Besler to be better defensively in that moment, not make that step, not, create this huge opening for, them to not only stay on side because he tried to step and that, no one else was stepping with him. And I think that, again, you can blame both sides of it, but it is not just on the defense in some of these moments defensively, but they have been definitely the culprit of a couple of really bad moments.
Basically, what we've learned over the last 2 podcasts this week is that we still don't know anything. Right? Is that where we're at? Okay.
Wait, did we just learn that after these podcasts? I mean, I think we've learned it after every year, man.
Accurate, partial information, right? That's what you get from us. Okay, Allie, thank you so much for joining. We're going to have to do this again before too long here.
Should have got you more when you were quarantined.
So, yeah.
Honestly, I was busier in quarantine, you guys, than I think ever before.
Are you going into an office now? You are?
Yeah, so I work like partly from home, and then I'm in the station, for my show and different things like that.
So great to have you. A bit of nostalgia bringing us back here. I'm sure all of the fans are excited to hear you again, so thank you very much.
Of course. Love you guys.
All right, guys, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Blue Testament KC, and join us at thebluetestament.com and leave us a comment, and we'll talk soon. Go Sporting!
Don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.